noise of the world behind. Night spread its velvet cloak over Judea. The hills outside Jerusalem were silhouettes against a tapestry of stars, and the desert wind carried the scent of sage and distant fig trees. In the valley below, shepherds guided their flocks towards stone-walled folds. Oil lamps flickered in the doorways of simple homes, casting golden halos on worn thresholds. Somewhere, a woman hummed a psalm as she kneaded dough. Somewhere else, a child recited the Shema before sleep. A sense of anticipation hung in the air like incense before prayer. Have you ever stood beneath a canopy of stars and felt both small and profoundly seen? Have you known the ache of feeling lost, even when surrounded by people? Tonight, our journey begins on these ancient hills, where the lives of shepherds intersect with the deep questions of our own hearts. The ancient story of a lost sheep is not merely about an animal wandering off. It is about all the times we have felt ourselves slip away from what is true and good, about the longing to be sought and the joy of being found. As you settle into this narrative, let the rhythm of its unfolding slow your breath. Hear the rustle of olive leaves and the soft bleating of sheep in the distance. Feel the cool desert wind on your skin and the warmth of a lantern in your hands. Allow the timeless landscape of Judea to surround you. In its quiet beauty, we will explore longing, fear, searching and rejoicing. We will walk along rocky paths, through valleys and over hills, following a shepherd's footsteps, and we will see ourselves, our own wanderings and returns, reflected in the journey of one small sheep. At the foot of a sun-scorched hill stood a simple fold made of stones stacked by calloused hands. Inside, 100 sheep dozed, their woolly bodies pressed together for warmth. Above them, the Milky Way stretched like a river of light across the sky. A shepherd named Eliab leaned against an olive tree, listening to the cadence of their breathing. His staff rested against his knee, his sling hung from his belt. The smell of lanolin and grass clung to his cloak. He knew each sheep not just by count but by character. He knew the timid ewe that always stayed close to the center, the rambunctious lambs that leapt over one another, the old ram with a scar across his muzzle from a fight with a thorn bush. Eliab lived his days and nights among these creatures. He had led them through green valleys near Bethany, watched them drink from clear springs in Galilee, and sheltered them under rocky overhangs when sudden storms swept across the desert. Each evening, he guided them into the fold, counted them carefully, and checked them for cuts and burrs. His hands bore calluses from carrying lambs. His feet bore dust from countless miles walked. Yet there was a tenderness in his eyes that spoke of a shepherd's love. Love that was patient, steadfast, and particular. As he moved among the sheep this night, he gently touched their heads, whispering their names as though they were his children. "Shalom, Nissa," he murmured to a ewe with a gentle bleat. "Rest well, Jaw," he said to the old ram. The sheep responded to his touch with soft snorts and contented sighs. The bond between them was unspoken yet deep. In the stillness, Eliab thought of his own childhood, when his father first placed a shepherd's staff in his hand and told him that a good shepherd lays down his life for his sheep. He had not understood then, but he understood now. His life revolved around these animals. Their well-being was his purpose. The other shepherds in the region often mocked him for naming his sheep. "They are animals," one would scoff at the marketplace. "Why waste affection?" But Eliab Eliab smiled and continued to know each by name. He remembered the words of a song his mother once sang, comparing God to a shepherd who gathers lambs in his arms. Perhaps, he thought, God himself delights in knowing us each by name, even when others see us as nothing more than a number. Eliab gazed over the sleeping flock, his heart swelling with gratitude. The 99 were safe for now. Yet life on these hills taught him that safety was never guaranteed. Wolves prowled at night. Ravines lay hidden beneath tall grasses. Sheep could wander with a moment's distraction. A shepherd's vigilance never ceased. He leaned his head back against the olive tree and whispered a prayer under his breath. "O God of Abraham, watch over us tonight. Keep my flock in your care as I keep them in mine." He closed his eyes briefly but did not sleep. Even in rest, a shepherd's ear remains tuned to the slightest change in sound. While the 99 huddled close, one young ram named Lior stirred restlessly near the edge of the fold. He had been born in a spring storm, his first breaths taken in thunder and lightning. Perhaps that was why his spirit was wild. Unlike the others, Lior loved the edges of the flock, always craning his neck to peer over stones, sniffing at unseen paths, testing the boundaries of the fold. There was a curiosity in him that sometimes led to mischief, pushing against the fold's stones, darting off to chase butterflies, wandering from the group to nibble at sweet herbs growing in rocky crevices. This night, as the wind whispered secrets through the olive branches, Lior felt a pull he could not name. The air beyond the fold smelled of sage and wild onion. The distant hills were bathed in moonlight. Lior heard the faint calls of other flocks, bells tinkling softly. A deep longing stirred within him, a feeling that there was something beyond the safety of the fold that he needed to explore. He pawed at the ground, his heart beating fast. Eliab noticed Lior's restlessness. "Stay, little one," he said gently, reaching down to scratch behind Lior's ear. Lior lifted his head and leaned into the shepherd's hand. For a moment, the urge to wander subsided. But as Eliab moved away to check another lamb, Lior's curiosity flared again. He stepped toward the wall of stones, sniffing at a gap where two rocks did not quite touch. He nudged his nose through, feeling the cool night air on the other side. He wiggled his body, pushing harder, until suddenly he slipped out of the fold. Outside, the world felt vast. The air was crisp. The stars seemed brighter. Lior froze, ears pricked, heart racing. He glanced back at the fold. The silhouettes of his sleeping companions looked peaceful. Eliab's shadow moved slowly along the stones. Just a quick look, Lior thought, taking a few tentative steps. The ground dipped slightly, leading toward a small grove of wild fig trees. Lior could not resist the sweet scent. He trotted forward, drawn by the promise of fruit. The grove was lush, leaves shimmering silver in the moonlight. Ripe figs hung heavy. Lior nipped at one, delighting in the burst of sweetness on his tongue. He ate another, then another, juices dripping down his chin. The world outside the fold felt intoxicating. He wandered further, weaving between trees, nibbling grasses, chasing fireflies. The fold faded into the background. The shepherd's voice was no longer audible. Lost in the pleasures of his exploration, Lior did not notice how far he had gone. A sudden rustle in the bushes made him start. A pair of glowing eyes stared at him from the darkness. A fox, perhaps, through thorn bushes that snagged his wool and scratched his skin. He stumbled over rocks, sliding down a slope into a narrow ravine. He bleated, but his voice was swallowed by the night. For the first time, fear flooded him. The world outside that had seemed so inviting moments before now felt vast and menacing. He called out, but no familiar answer came. In his panic, he slipped on loose gravel and fell. His leg twisted painfully. He lay on his side, breathing hard, the thorns tugging at his wool, the cold earth pressing into his skin. Above him, the stars watched silently. He was alone. "Eliab?" he bleated weakly. There was no response. Tears filled his eyes, though he did not understand what tears were. He felt suddenly very small, very foolish. He wished he could go back, but he did not know the way. His unquiet heart had led him far from safety. He closed his eyes, hoping, perhaps, that sleep would bring him back home. Eliab was still leaning against the olive tree when he heard an unfamiliar rustle. He opened his eyes, listening. The fold was quiet. The sheep breathed in slow rhythm. A night bird called from the fig grove. He stood, walked around the enclosure, and began to count each sheep, his fingers moving across their wool. 1, 2, 3, he whispered. He had done this countless times and rarely made mistakes. At 98, he frowned slightly. At 99, he felt his heart quicken. He looked around once more, eyes scanning every corner. One was missing. "Lior?" he called softly. There was no answering bleat. Eliab's chest tightened. He set his staff on the wall and climbed into the fold, checking again. 99 pairs of eyes looked up at him sleepily. He counted again, slower. 99. "Oh, my little wanderer," he whispered, realizing. Lior had slipped away. Eliab felt a surge of conflicting emotions, fear for the young ram, frustration at his restlessness, and a deep, aching concern. He remembered nights when wolves prowled and howls echoed through the hills. He thought of ravines, of sharp rocks, of thorn bushes, of sudden storms. He thought of Lior's curious eyes, of the way he followed butterflies. Leaving the 99 seemed risky. Yet in that moment, there was no question in his mind. The love that drove him to know each sheep by name now drove him to search. He took a deep breath. The night was still. He turned to his assistant, a young shepherd named Simeon, sleeping under a blanket nearby. "Simeon," he whispered, shaking his shoulder gently. The young man stirred. "Watch over the flock," Eliab said. "Lior is missing. I must go after him." Simeon rubbed his eyes and sat up, nodding. "Be careful," he replied, standing to take Eliab's staff and position. Eliab grabbed a lantern and slung his leather water pouch across his chest. He bent to pick up his sling, tucking a few smooth stones into his belt. He whispered a prayer. "Oh God, guide my steps. Help me find him." Then he climbed over the stone wall and into the night. The world beyond the fold seemed both familiar and strange. Shadows moved with the wind. The scent of sage was stronger. The moon hung high, casting just enough light to see the path. He walked toward the gap in the stones where he guessed Lior had slipped through. He saw the small trail of disturbed dust, the marks of tiny hooves. He knelt, touched the prints, and felt a pang of tenderness. Lior had been here recently. Eliab followed the path, lantern held low to the ground, the faint light cast casting flickering shadows on rock and shrub. "Lior!" he called softly, then louder. "Lior, where are you?" Only the echo of his own voice returned. As he walked, he thought of stories his father told him of David, the shepherd king, who defended his flock from lions and bears. He remembered how David spoke of God leading him beside still waters, restoring his soul. Eliab wondered if this search, this leaving the 99, was a small echo of God's searching love. He felt the tension between leaving the many and seeking the one, yet he knew that love does not calculate safety against compassion. Love risks. Love leaves comfort to find the lost. He walked through the fig grove, past the sweet scent of ripe fruit. He saw where branches were broken and leaves disturbed. "He was here," he murmured, tracing the path. He found drops of sap on the ground, sticky and shining in the lantern light. Further on, he saw where a bush had been flattened, then a hoofprint pressed into soft earth near a ravine. "Lior!" he called, his voice catching. In the distance, he thought he heard a faint bleat carried on the wind. Hope flared. He quickened his pace, careful not to slip on loose stones. The night deepened around him, but Eliab's resolve did not waver. Love for one small, stubborn sheep compelled him forward. He would not return until he had Lior on his shoulders, safe and sound. The 99 were entrusted to Simeon. The search for the one had become his sole purpose. Somewhere ahead, a frightened animal lay alone in the dark. The shepherd's heart beat with determination. He knew that to find Lior would bring not only relief but rejoicing, a joy that could not be found in counting numbers alone. Eliab moved cautiously down the slope, leading toward a narrow ravine. The ground was uneven, littered with rocks that glinted in the lantern light. Thorn bushes grew thick along the edges, their branches twisting like the fingers of old hands. The wind whistled softly, carrying with it the distant sound of water trickling through the valley below. Each step required his full attention, yet his mind was also filled with memories of Lior. The lamb's first steps, the way he looked when he saw snow for the first time in the hills of Hebron, his habit of nuzzling Eliab's hand in the evening. "Lior!" Eliab called again, louder this time. He paused, listening. For a moment, the night was silent except for the rustle of leaves. Then a faint cry reached his ears, weak and trembling. Eliab's heart leapt. "I'm coming, little one," he whispered, quickening his pace. The cry came again, more desperate. It guided Eliab like a beacon. He climbed over a fallen log and pushed through a thick patch of thorns. The branches snagged his cloak, scratching his skin. He winced but did not slow. Tiny beads of blood dotted his arms where the thorns caught him. He pressed on, ignoring the sting. As he reached the edge of the ravine, he held the lantern high. Down below, he saw a small, white form tangled in a bush at the base of the cliff. Lior. His wool was matted with mud and sticks. His leg was twisted at an odd angle. His eyes were wide with fear, and his sides heaved with rapid breaths. "Lior," Eliab breathed, relief washing over him. He carefully climbed down, using roots and rocks as handholds. Dust filled his mouth, and his muscles trembled with effort. Halfway down, his foot slipped, and he scraped his knee, but he regained his grip. gently placed his hands on Lior's side, feeling the frantic heartbeat. "I've got you," he murmured, his voice soft and steady. He carefully untangled the thorns from Lior's wool, ignoring the scratches to his own skin. Lior cried out as a particularly large thorn pulled free, but Eliab continued, whispering soothing sounds. When the sheep was free, Eliab examined the leg. It was not broken, only strained. Relief flooded him. He wrapped it gently with a strip of cloth from his own tunic. Then, with practiced movements, he lifted Lior onto his shoulders. The weight was substantial, but Eliab's body was accustomed to hard labor. Lior's body trembled against his neck, his breath hot against Eliab's skin. Eliab stood slowly, adjusting his balance. He gripped Lior's legs firmly with one hand and held the lantern with the other. "You are safe now," he whispered, tears stinging his eyes. The tears surprised him. He had not expected to cry over a sheep, yet the rush of relief, love, and exhaustion overwhelmed him. As he climbed back up the ravine, he felt the strain in his legs, the burn in his muscles. The lantern swung slightly, casting fleeting shadows. At one point, his foot slipped on a loose rock, and he stumbled, almost falling. He gritted his teeth and regained his footing. The presence of Lior on his shoulders spurred him on. He thought of how many times God had lifted him from his own pits of despair when he had been stuck in regret or fear. How many times had he been carried when he could not walk? The thought humbled him, filled him with gratitude. At the top of the ravine, Eliab paused to catch his breath. The stars above seemed brighter. Lior's weight pressed against his shoulders, warm and real. The young ram's breaths began to slow, matching Eliab's rhythm. A soft, relieved bleat escaped Lior's mouth. Eliab smiled, pressing his cheek against Lior's wool. "We go home now," he whispered. "We will tell everyone. They will rejoice." He began the journey back, lantern swinging, heart light despite the physical burden. Every scratch on his arms, every bruise on his knees felt insignificant compared to the joy of having found the one that was lost. He could not wait to share the news. He knew there would be celebration, not just from his fellow shepherds, but, as he had heard the rabbis say, in heaven over one who is recovered. The road back to the fold seemed shorter, each step illuminated by hope. Above, the desert wind whispered its own song of rejoicing. Eliab walked slowly but steadily across the moonlit hills, Lior draped across his shoulders like a heavy, living mantle. The young ram's heartbeat thudded against his neck, gradually calming as fear gave way to exhaustion. The rhythm soothed Eliab, too. He matched his breathing to it, inhaling and exhaling in time. Each footfall stirred dust that sparkled briefly in the lantern's glow. The journey back felt like a pilgrimage, difficult yet full of purpose. As he walked, Eliab spoke softly, not for Lior to understand, but to keep his own spirit steady. "Do you remember," he murmured, "the day we climbed the steep path above Jericho and found that patch of wild thyme? You ate so much, your mouth was purple." He chuckled softly. "Or the time you chased your shadow in circles until you were dizzy?" The stories flowed like a gentle stream, a reminder of their shared history. In telling them, Eliab felt the weight on his shoulders lighten, not physically, but emotionally. He was reminded that Lior was more than a number. He was a life entrusted to him. The path wound through an olive grove. The silvery leaves shimmered as the lantern light passed beneath them. A night owl hooted from a nearby branch. In the distance, Eliab saw the faint glow of another shepherd's fire. He thought of Simeon, back at the fold, watching over the 99. He imagined the young man pacing, praying, scanning the horizon for the lantern's return. Eliab whispered a silent prayer for him as well, for his patience, his faithfulness. To leave 99 required trust, both in the one left to guard and in the one who watches over all. Halfway home, Eliab stopped by a small spring. The water trickled over moss-covered rocks, singing a quiet melody. He set the lantern on a stone and lowered Lior carefully to the ground. Lior whimpered when his wounded leg touched the earth, so Eliab sat down and allowed the sheep's body to rest against his side. He dipped his hand into the cool water and cupped it to Lior's mouth. The young ram lapped eagerly, his tongue warm against Eliab's palm. Eliab drank as well, feeling the water refresh his parched throat. He splashed some on his own face, letting its coolness wash away sweat and dust. A breeze rustled through the reeds by the spring. Eliab closed his eyes for a moment, listening. He thought of another psalm, the one that spoke of being led beside still waters. He felt its truth in his bones. "He restores my soul," he whispered, "the words are balm." In caring for Lior, he felt a restoration within himself, a reminder of why he had chosen this life. The love that drove him to search was the same love that sustained him on the road. Lior's eyes drooped. He leaned heavily against Eliab, his breath warming the shepherd's arm. Eliab wrapped his arms around the sheep and hummed a low melody, one his mother had sung over him when he was a child. It was a song about being safe in God's care, about being carried when weary. The notes floated out over the water, mingling with the sound of the trickling spring. Lior's breathing slowed further. He drifted into sleep, trust shone in the way his head rested on Eliab's knee. After a while, Eliab lifted Lior once more and continued toward the fold. The first hints of dawn tinged the eastern sky, a faint lavender creeping along the horizon. Roosters crowed in distant villages. The world began to wake. Eliab quickened his steps. His shoulders ached, but he did not feel burdened. He felt honored. He felt as though he were part of a cosmic story unfolding across hills and generations. A story of a shepherd who leaves many to find one, of love that seeks until it finds. He knew he would tell this tale to others, and that they would see not only his heart, but the heart of God reflected in it. The sun's first rays kissed the hilltops as Eliab approached the stone fold. The sky blushed pink and gold, and dew glistened on the blades of grass. From a distance, he saw Simeon standing on the wall, eyes scanning the terrain. When Simeon spotted the lantern's glow and the silhouette of Eliab with something draped over his shoulders, he shouted with relief. "He's back!" Simeon called. The sheep inside the fold stirred at the sound, bleating softly. Eliab climbed over the low wall, gently lowering Lior to the ground. The young ram stumbled, then found his footing, still favoring his injured leg. The other sheep crowded around, sniffing and nudging their returned companion. Eliab smiled as he watched them. There was a distinct shift in their bleats, an almost musical tone that seemed like rejoicing. The flock knew. Animals sense more than we often realize, Praise God, Simeon exclaimed, embracing Eliab. I was worried. You've been gone for hours. Eliab laughed softly. It felt longer than it was, he admitted. His arms ached, his legs were stiff, his stomach growled, yet his heart felt light. He was caught in a thorn bush, Eliab continued, gesturing toward Lior. He will limp for a while, but he will be well. Word traveled quickly through the nearby village. The shepherd who left his 99 had returned with the one. Neighbors began to arrive, carrying baskets of bread and jars of oil. Women wrapped in shawls, their hands rough from grinding flour, clapped with joy. Children ran ahead, laughing, pointing at Lior and calling his name. Older men, weathered by years of sun and toil, nodded appreciatively at Eliab. They understood the risk and effort of the night's search. "Rejoice with me," Eliab called out as people gathered, "for I have found my sheep which was lost." His voice rang with gratitude and triumph. Laughter erupted. Someone began to play a flute, its clear notes rising into the morning air. Others clapped in time. Simeon ran to fetch wine from his small hut. He returned with a skin and poured it into clay cups. Bread was broken and shared. Olive oil was drizzled over herbs. It became a spontaneous feast, simple yet joyful. Hannah, an elderly woman who lived nearby, placed her hand on Eliab's arm. "My son," she said, voice thick with emotion, "your love for that little one reflects the love of God for us all." Eliab's eyes filled with tears. "I did what any shepherd would do," he replied humbly, "but I feel his love echoing through mine. Perhaps I understand a little better now." A young boy tugged at Eliab's cloak. "Why did you leave the 99? He asked, wide-eyed. Eliab knelt to be at eye level with the child. "Because each one matters," he answered. "If you were lost, I would search for you until I found you, and I would rejoice even more than I rejoice when you stay safe." The boy nodded thoughtfully and smiled. As neighbors ate and drank, stories flowed. Farmers talked about lost goats found in unexpected places. Mothers shared tales of children who wandered off and were discovered just before nightfall. Each story ended with relief and celebration. The air was thick with gratitude. Joy spilled out of hearts and into laughter, songs and blessings. People thanked God. They hugged each other. They marveled at the shepherd's dedication. The morning light grew brighter. The dew evaporated. But the joy remained, a warmth that did not dissipate with the sun's heat. Those present felt connected, not just to each other, but to something bigger. They felt as though heaven itself leaned close to listen and to join in rejoicing, echoing the rabbinic, saying that there is more joy in heaven over one sinner who repents than over 99 who do not need repentance. It was not merely a metaphor, it felt like a reality in their midst. The feast by the fold became a small picture of a greater celebration, one that transcends time and place. When the feast had quieted and neighbors returned to their tasks, Eliab and Simeon remained with the flock. The sheep moved about the fold, nibbling on hay, bumping against one another, adjusting to Lior's return. As Eliab watched them, he noticed subtle shifts in their behavior. A few of the older ewes seemed restless, eyeing Lior with a mixture of relief and something else. Resentment, perhaps, or confusion. They bleated softly to one another, their voices low and questioning. That evening, after the sun had set and the stars once again appeared, Eliab sat at the entrance to the fold, his cloak wrapped around his shoulders. He listened as the sheep settled. In the dim light of the oil lamp, he saw two ewes, Zilpah and Maor, approach him. Of course they could not speak, yet in Eliab's mind he imagined their voices. He had always wondered what his flock would say if they could. Tonight, perhaps, he felt their sentiments in his heart. "If we could talk," Zilpah might have said, "we would ask why you left us, 99, to go after the one who always wanders." Eliab sighed softly. "Because love does not play by numbers," he whispered back. Even though they did not understand words, love goes after the one because the one matters. Maor, younger and more impulsive, might have added, "But we were in danger too. Wolves could have come. What if something had happened to us?" Eliab nodded. "I entrusted you to Simeon," he murmured. "I would never abandon you." But Lior was alone, with no one to watch over him. In his heart, Eliab knew that these inner dialogues mirrored human reactions. He thought of the Pharisees who grumbled when Jesus ate with sinners, accusing him of welcoming the lost at the expense of the righteous. He thought of times he himself had felt overlooked when someone else received special attention. The temptation to resent grace shown to another is real. Yet as he stroked Maor's head, he felt compassion for both the lost and the ones who had not wandered. All needed love, though love looked different in each case. He decided to speak aloud, if only for his own sake. "Listen, my friends," he said softly, addressing the fold. "When one of you is lost, I will search. When you are all together, I will lead you to pasture and water. You each matter to me. I do not love Lior more because I searched for him. I love him the same as I love you. But he needed me in a way you did not, and so I left you in good hands to find him. It is not about fairness, it is about care." He paused, then added, "And you, too, may have your moment of wandering. I promise that if you ever slip away, I will come after you. I will carry you home. Then we will celebrate." The sheep bleated softly, nibbling at hay. Eliab smiled. He felt his own spirit settle. Sometimes, in our hearts, we are both the 99 and the one. We resent the attention given to another and yet long to be sought if we were to wander. Recognizing this tension is part of our growth. Eliab hummed a lullaby as the sheep drifted to sleep. He felt peace wash over him, a peace born not of perfection but of acceptance. Acceptance of the complexity of love. Late that night, after Simeon had fallen asleep and the sheep were quiet, Eliab lay on his back, staring up at the stars. The moon had set, and darkness cloaked the hills. Only the heavens glowed. He spoke into the night, not expecting an answer but needing to voice what filled his heart. "Why do you care for us, O God?" he whispered. "We are like sheep, stubborn, easily distracted. We wander after sweet figs and forget the safety of the fold. We hurt ourselves and then cry out for help. Yet you call us your own. You leave the 99 to come after the one. You carry us on your shoulders, rejoicing." He thought of the parables he had heard in the synagogue, of the prophets who spoke of God as a shepherd. He recalled the words from Ezekiel about God searching for his scattered sheep. He thought of Isaiah's prophecy that all have gone astray. He thought of the songs of David, singing of being led beside still waters. He felt those ancient words like threads woven through his own life. Is this how you feel, Lord, when one of us turns away? Is your heart pierced as mine was tonight? He asked. He pictured the city of Jerusalem across the valley, its walls gleaming faintly in starlight. Inside those walls, priests offered sacrifices and scholars debated the law. Yet out here, on the lonely hillsides, he felt close to the heart of God. The simplicity of his calling, watching, protecting, guiding, mirrored the divine. "Teach me to shepherd like you," he whispered. "Teach me to rejoice over the one who returns and not to begrudge the effort it takes. Teach me to comfort those who feel overlooked. Teach me to walk miles and brave thorns if that is what love requires." A meteor streaked across the sky, a brief flash of light. Eliab smiled. Maybe that was a silent answer, he thought. The night remained quiet, but his heart felt heard. He closed his eyes and drifted into sleep, resting in the knowledge that his small story was part of a larger story, one in which the shepherd's heart is mirrored in the heart of God. Lior healed slowly. His leg, though strained, regained strength under Eliab's careful watch. The other sheep accepted him back into the fold, nuzzling him and sharing space. Days turned into weeks. Spring rains fell, turning hillsides green. Wildflowers painted the valleys in hues of purple and yellow. As Lior grazed among the flock, he felt different, not in body, but in heart. The memory of being lost lingered like a bruise. It ached when he remembered the thorns pulling at his wool, the dark ravine closing around him, the panic in his chest. But it also warmed when he remembered Eliab's hands freeing him, the strong shoulders carrying him, the voice murmuring comfort. If sheep could speak, Lior would have told his story. One evening, as the flock rested under pomegranate trees near a village, Lior nudged a lamb named Asa who had been born just weeks earlier. Asa bleated inquisitively, his eyes wide and innocent. Lior imagined telling him, "There was a night when I thought I did not need the fold. The world outside seemed so inviting. Sweet figs and freedom called to me. I pushed through the stones and ran. For a moment, I felt exhilarated. Then I was lost. The sweetness turned bitter. I was afraid. I thought I would die." He would pause, then continue. "But our shepherd came after me. He heard my cries. He climbed down to where I was stuck, though it hurt him. He did not scold me. He picked me up and carried me home. I did not deserve it. I had chosen to leave. But he loved me. I felt his tears on my wool. He told everyone of his joy when he found me." Lior would tell Asa, "When you feel curious, as you will, when you see a path that looks tempting, remember my story. Remember that freedom without the shepherd is not freedom at all. It is fear, pain, and darkness. Remember that if you do wander, the shepherd will search for you, but his heart will ache. And remember that no matter how far you roam, you are never beyond his love." Asa might bleat and bounce, not fully understanding, but seeds would be planted. Stories shape hearts, even simple ones. Eliab, sitting nearby, would listen to the bleats and smile, understanding in part what Lior said. Perhaps he, too, told stories to the flock in his own way. Perhaps he hummed songs that reminded them of being sought and found. Lior's tale spread beyond the fold. Villagers told it at wells and marketplaces. Children acted it out, one pretending to be the lost sheep and another the shepherd. The story resonated because it touched something deep, a shared experience of wandering and the desire to be found. Even those who had never tended animals felt it stir them. A woman who had lived on the margins for years heard it and wept, sensing hope. A man who had cheated his neighbors listened and decided to return what he had taken. A young scribe, meticulous about the law, reconsidered his view of those he deemed sinners. The lost sheep's tale became a lens through which people saw themselves and God. It spoke of grace that seeks, of joy that erupts over repentance, of a love that counts not by majority, but by hearts. And it whispered, gently but persistently, that no one is too small, too stubborn, too foolish to be pursued. Across Judea, the story of the lost sheep stirred hearts. In Jericho, a tax collector named Levi sat at his booth, counting coins with nimble fingers. He heard a traveler recount the tale, his voice animated, his eyes bright. The shepherd left 99 to find one, the traveler said, breaking bread with his companions. And when he found it, he rejoiced more over that one than over the 99 who never left. Laughter and awe filled the air. Levi paused his counting. He had spent his life tallying coins and collecting taxes from his own people on behalf of Rome. They despised him. He despised himself. He knew the law but did not feel loved by it. Hearing about the shepherd stirred something in him, a longing to be sought. Could there be a God who would leave many to find someone like him? Levi's hands trembled. He closed his ledgers early that day and wandered through Jericho's streets, thinking. The story of the lost sheep worked like yeast, slowly leavening his heart with humility and hope. In a village near Nazareth, a young woman named Miriam, another Miriam, fetched water from the well. She overheard two elders discuss the parable. "It is about sinners," one said dismissively. "God cares for them, but not at the expense of us righteous ones." The other shook his head. "No, it is about God's heart," he replied softly. "It reveals the lengths to which he will go. Perhaps we should be less quick to judge and more ready to rejoice." Miriam listened, her cheeks flushing. She had lived with a secret shame for years. Hearing that God rejoiced over the lost, she felt her burden lighten. She carried water back to her home with new strength. On the outskirts of Capernaum, fishermen mended their nets. They hummed a song about 99 sheep and one that was lost. The rhythm matched the rhythm of their hands weaving fibers. One fisherman, Jonah, had not forgiven him. The story pricked his conscience. As he wove, he murmured a prayer. "If you seek lost sheep, Lord, seek my brother. If you rejoice over one who repents, let me rejoice too." The ripples continued. A Pharisee read the story with suspicion. He knew the law inside and out. He prided himself on his adherence. The idea that God would prioritize a wandering sheep over those who kept to the fold offended him. He found himself grumbling, like his ancestors had grumbled in the wilderness. Yet late at night, when he was alone, he felt a strange emptiness. He realized that his heart, though outwardly righteous, had wandered in pride. He whispered, "Perhaps I am the lost one," and tears fell on his Torah scroll. Even Gentiles living in Roman colonies heard the tale. A Greek merchant traveling through Judea wrote to his wife about a strange story he heard from a Jewish shepherd. "It is about a shepherd who leaves leaves his flock to find one missing sheep, he wrote. He carries it home, rejoicing. They say it reveals the heart of their God. It made me think of when I lost you in the marketplace last year and searched frantically until I found you. Love transcends boundaries, my dearest. Perhaps their God transcends ours. His wife read the letter and smiled, her heart warmed. The story's power lay in its simplicity and depth. It spoke across languages, cultures, and statuses. It cut through religious pretension and touched raw humanity. It echoed the words of prophets and the hopes of poets. It reminded mothers to be patient with rebellious sons. It urged fathers to welcome daughters who had strayed. It inspired communities to value individuals, not just groups. It softened hearts hardened by self-righteousness. And always, the story pointed beyond itself, to a shepherd greater than Eliab, to a love deeper than his. It pointed to a God who not only tells stories but writes them with lives, a God who enters ravines and thorns, who lifts and carries, who rejoices with angels, who calls us by name and holds us close. The lost sheep returned to the fold, but the story of redemption marched onward, leaving prints in hearts like hoof prints in dusty paths. One late afternoon, as the sun sank behind the western hills and painted the sky in hues of orange and rose, Eliab led his flock through an olive grove toward a shallow stream. The air was warm, fragrant with the scent of ripening fruit. The leaves above rustled like whispered conversations. Eliab looked around, noting the ancient trees with their gnarled trunks and silvery foliage. He felt their wisdom, their rootedness, their quiet witness to generations of laughter, tears, wars, and peace. He found a clearing and called his sheep to rest. The flock spread out, some drinking from the stream, others nibbling on grass or lying in the cool shade. Eliab leaned against a rock, closed his eyes, and began to sing. His voice was low and steady, carrying a tune that his father had taught him, a tune his grandfather had sung under these same trees. The song was of a shepherd who loved his sheep, who called them by name, who searched for the lost, who rejoiced when they returned. It was a song of longing and fulfillment, of pain and joy intertwined. The wind seemed to carry the melody through the grove. Birds quieted to listen. The olive branches swayed in time. The sheep lifted their heads, ears pricked, eyes soft. Even Simeon, carrying a skin of water from the stream, stopped to listen. Eliab's voice held something new. There was a depth born of experience, of having lived the story he sang. The words were the same as always, but they meant more now. He sang of leaving 99 without resentment, of carrying heavy weight without complaint, of rejoicing so pure it washed away fatigue. He sang of a shepherd who knows each sheep, of a God who knows each heart. As he reached the final verse, his voice softened. "If ever you wander, little one," he sang, "if ever you stray afar, know that my eyes will seek you, know that my heart will break. But I will come after you, through thorn and stone, through river and ravine. And when I find you, oh, when I find you, the joy of your return will be my song." His eyes were wet. He let the last note linger in the air, then fade into silence. For a moment, the world felt suspended, held in a sacred pause. Simeon approached. "Your song sounds different now," he remarked quietly. Eliab nodded. sing a story. It is another to live it, he replied. Songs become truer when they have bled through your own heart. Simeon lowered himself to the ground. You have taught me much, Eliab, he said. I used to think shepherding was only about grazing and guarding. Now I see it is about love. Thank you. Eliab placed a hand on Simeon's shoulder. We learn together, he replied gently. We are all still learning. As the sun disappeared completely and twilight descended, Eliab lit a lantern. Its glow illuminated the faces of those gathered, Simeon, the sheep, the olive trees. Shadows danced on rocks. A cool breeze rose, carrying away the heat of the day. The smell of earth after sun-warmed stone filled Eliab's nose. He breathed deeply. His heart felt like the lantern, warm, steady, casting light that others could gather around. He thought of all the times in his life he had needed such light, and of the times he might yet need it. He thanked God for songs, for olives, for streams, for stories, for sheep, for companions, for redemption. Weeks after Lior's return, a rumor spread through the surrounding villages. A young man named Ezekiel, who had been apprenticed to a stonemason in Jerusalem, had disappeared. Some said he had joined a group of zealots planning to rebel against Rome. Others whispered that he had fallen in with thieves on the road to Jericho. His mother, Rebecca, wept at the well, her hands clutching her headscarf. "He was just here," she cried. "He mended my doorframe and ate supper with us. Then he was gone. Why would he leave?" The story reached Eliab when he went to the market to trade for barley. He saw Rebecca sitting on a low stool, eyes swollen from crying. He walked over and placed a hand on her shoulder. "I have heard," he said softly. "My heart aches with yours." Rebecca looked up, tears streaming down her cheeks. "He is lost," she whispered. "My son is lost." Her voice cracked on the word. Eliab knelt. "There is a shepherd who seeks lost sheep," he said gently. "Do you remember the story?" Rebecca nodded slowly. "You told it," she replied. Eliab smiled faintly. "Yes, but it is not just my story. It is God's story. He seeks wandering hearts. He leaves the many to find the one. Perhaps he is pursuing Ezekiel even now. Perhaps someone is speaking to him, telling him of hope." Rebecca sobbed. "But what if he refuses? What if he chooses the darkness?" Eliab's gaze softened. He thought of Lior pushing through the wall. He thought of the vineyard owners who beat the king's servants in another parable. He thought of his own moments of stubbornness. "We cannot force someone to be found," he said quietly. "But we can pray. We can hope. We can keep the door open. We can be ready to rejoice." That evening, back among the olive trees, Eliab told the flock the story of Ezekiel, not because they would understand, but because speaking aloud helped him process his own feelings. He spoke of hearts that wander beyond stone walls and hearts that ache in their absence. He spoke of the long nights of waiting, of the hope that flickers like a lantern in the dark, refusing to be snuffed out. As he spoke, he realized that the story of the lost sheep was not a one-time event. It was a pattern. People, like sheep, wander often. The shepherd's love is relentless. The search is ongoing. Eliab's prayer for Ezekiel became part of his daily rhythm. Each morning, as he led the sheep to pasture, he whispered the young man's name. Each night, as he counted the flock, he thought of a mother counting her days without her son. his compassion deepened. When he passed travelers on the road, he shared Lior's story, not to boast, but to offer hope. Some listened politely, others scoffed. A few leaned in, eyes moist, hearts touched. One afternoon, weeks later, a dusty figure approached the village. It was Ezekiel. His beard was unkempt, his clothes torn, his eyes weary. He walked slowly, carrying the weight of guilt. His mother saw him from a distance and ran, tears of joy streaming down her face. She threw her arms around him, sobbing. "My son was lost," she cried, "and now he is found." The villagers gathered. Some embraced Ezekiel. Others watched skeptically. Eliab stood back, smiling quietly. He saw the parable come to life again. He saw the truth that God seeks lost hearts and rejoices when they return. Ezekiel later told his mother that he had indeed joined rebels, but had felt uneasy. One night, around a fire, a shepherd from Judea had told a story about a lost sheep and a shepherd who searched until he found it. As he spoke, Ezekiel recounted, "I saw myself in that sheep. I felt a longing to return. I left the rebels that night and started the journey home." Rebecca wept, her tears soaking Ezekiel's tunic. "Thank God," she whispered. Eliab walked away, head bowed, whispering his own thanks. The parable had borne fruit. A lost heart had been found. Early summer brought with it scorching days and cool nights. Eliab decided to graze the flock in a new area near the edge of the wilderness, where grasses still grew green from recent rains. The journey took them further than usual, past familiar wells and into unfamiliar terrain. The wilderness stretched before them like an endless sea of rolling dunes, dotted with acacia trees and scrub. To the east lay the Dead Sea, shimmering like a sheet of molten silver in the distance. The air smelled of salt and sage. As he walked, Eliab felt a sense of reverence. The wilderness was where Abraham had walked, where Moses had led Israel, where David had hidden. It was a place of testing and encounter. It was also a place where one could easily get lost. "Stay close," he called to Simeon and to the sheep. He kept his eyes sharp for predators and pitfalls. Midday heat bore down. Eliab stopped by a small wadi, a dry stream that occasionally held water after rains. In its shaded depths, a trickle still ran. He allowed the sheep to drink. As he knelt to scoop water into his own mouth, he thought about wilderness wanderings in the scriptures. He remembered how God provided manna and water for the Israelites. He remembered how the prophets spoke of a voice crying out in the wilderness, preparing the way for the Lord. He wondered if the lost sheep story was also a wilderness story, a picture of God going into desolate places to find us. While the sheep grazed, Eliab climbed a nearby ridge to survey the area. From the top, he saw the vastness of the wilderness stretching to the horizon. He also saw movement in the distance, a small group of travelers. Curious, he watched as they drew closer. They were shepherds from another region, their flocks thin and dusty. They looked weary. When they reached the base of the ridge, Eliab descended to meet them. "Peace be with you," he greeted. The oldest shepherd, his face sunburned and lined, nodded. "And peace to you," he replied. "We have lost 2 lambs," he added, his voice heavy. "They wandered into the wilderness last night. We have searched all morning. We saw your flock and hoped you might have seen them." Eliab's heart clenched. He remembered Lior, remembered his own panic. said softly, "but I will help you search." He turned to Simeon. "Watch our flock," he instructed. Then he joined the strangers and ventured into the wilderness. The sun beat down. The sand burned his feet through his sandals. They scanned the ground for tiny prints, listened for faint bleats. Hours passed with no sign. Fear gnawed at the edges of hope. The wilderness felt both holy and hostile. Yet Eliab did not give up. He moved from ridge to ridge, calling, listening, scanning. Finally, in a narrow gully between two dunes, they heard a weak cry. Eliab's heart leapt. They ran toward the sound. There, huddled together under a thorny shrub, were two lambs, trembling, eyes wide. Eliab recognized in their faces the same fear he had seen in Lior's. He knelt, reached out with gentle hands, and lifted them one by one. The other shepherds exhaled deep sighs of relief. Tears glistened on their cheeks. "Thank you," the old shepherd whispered. "You did not have to help us," Eliab smiled. "Perhaps I did," he replied quietly. "Love does not stop at the edge of one's own fold." He carried one lamb on his shoulders, the other shepherd carried the second. As they walked back toward their flocks, Eliab thought about boundaries, of villages, of tribes, of nations, and how love crosses them. He thought of the good shepherd who seeks not only Lior, but all who wander. When he returned to Simeon and his own flock, the young shepherd grinned. "Found them?" he asked. "Found them," Eliab replied, smiling. He felt tired but exhilarated. The wilderness had revealed its secrets and its treasures. He had seen the heart of God again, reflected in his own heart's willingness to search for someone else's sheep. He realized that the story of the lost sheep was not only about being found, but about becoming one who seeks. We are invited not only to be carried, but also to carry others. Autumn arrived with cooler nights and golden leaves falling from the few deciduous trees along the valley near Bethlehem. The olive harvest was nearly finished. The grapes had been pressed into wine. Lanterns lit pathways between homes as evenings grew longer. In one small village, a group gathered outside a home to hear stories. Elders sat on rugs, children perched on laps, and middle-aged men and women leaned against stone walls, savoring the crisp night air. Eliab had been invited to share his tale of the lost sheep. Word had spread of his gift for storytelling. He felt honored, a little nervous, but mostly grateful. Stories, he had learned, were a way to carry truth across generations. He began with his usual calm, painting the scene of the 100 sheep in the fold, the restless ram named Lior, the escape through the stones, the wandering, the fear. He saw the listeners lean in, eyes reflecting the lantern light. He described his own panic, the decision to leave 99, the thorns that tore his skin, the ravine that nearly swallowed him. He told of lifting Lior onto his shoulders, of his tears, of the rejoicing. He quoted the line from the Gospel of Luke, though most in the village did not know it by that name. There is more joy in heaven over one sinner who repents than over 99 righteous people who need no repentance. He watched as hearts softened. As he spoke, Eliab noticed a man standing at the edge of the crowd. The man's face was hidden in shadow. He wore a cloak pulled tight around him. His posture was stiff. At one point, when Eliab spoke of the shepherds rejoicing, the man's head lowered as if in pain. Eliab continued, weaving into his story the themes he had learned over the months. humanity to admit our own wandering. When he finished, the crowd clapped softly. The elder of the village thanked him and offered him a cup of warm wine. People began to disperse, talking quietly among themselves. The man in the cloak remained. He stepped forward slowly. As he moved into the lantern light, his face became visible. It was Ezekiel, Rebekah's son. Eliab's eyes widened with recognition. "Peace be with you," he said gently. Ezekiel nodded. "And with you," he replied, voice hoarse. "Your story," he began, then stopped, swallowing hard. "Your story found me when I was far away. It led me home. Tonight, hearing it again, I realized I must tell my own story too." He took a deep breath. "I left home in anger. I believed rebellion would give me freedom. I joined men who promised to make Israel great but only wanted power. We stole. We harmed. My heart hardened. Then one night, around a fire, a shepherd told us the story of a lost sheep. I felt seen. I felt called. I left the band and returned. My mother welcomed me. The village had been kind. But I carry shame. I fear judgment. I am here tonight to ask for forgiveness. From you, from my neighbors, from God." Silence fell. The village elder stepped forward. He placed his hands on Ezekiel's shoulders. "We rejoice that you are back," he said firmly. "There is more joy over one who returns than over those who never left." He looked around at the villagers. Many nodded. Some wiped tears. Eliab felt his own throat tighten. He remembered the lost sheep on his shoulders, the weight and warmth, the joy. "Welcome home," he whispered. Lantern light danced in Ezekiel's eyes. He smiled a little for the first time in months. As the crowd dispersed fully, Eliab and Ezekiel sat on the stone wall outside the elder's house, sipping wine and talking quietly. They spoke of wandering hearts and faithful love. They spoke of guilt and grace. "Do you think God truly rejoices over me?" Ezekiel asked at one point, voice barely audible. Eliab nodded. "I know he does," he replied softly. "He is the shepherd. We are his sheep. His joy is not a concept. It is a reality. It fills heaven when a heart turns back." The lanterns in the valley flickered as a breeze swept through, causing shadows to dance. The stars above shone brightly. In that moment, the valley seemed like a fold. Lanterns like stars, people like sheep, God like a shepherd. Eliab closed his eyes, whispering a prayer of thanks for stories that heal, for lanterns that guide, for a love that rejoices. As our tale rests gently in your mind, allow the images of sheep and shepherds, lanterns and olive groves, ravines and rejoicing to settle like dew on a quiet morning. The parable of the lost sheep is ancient, yet it speaks with a voice that resonates in our modern hearts. It whispers of the times we have wandered, chasing what seemed sweet, only to find ourselves stuck in thorns and darkness. It speaks of the one who left the comfort of heaven to seek us, who bore our weight on his shoulders, who rejoiced over our return even when we felt unworthy. What draws you away from the fold? Is it the allure of freedom without boundaries? The promise of sweet fruit that leaves you empty? The thirst for significance in places that cannot satisfy? We all have places where we push against the stones, thinking we know better, forgetting the safety of the shepherd's presence. We all have moments of panic, of realization realization that we are lost, that we cannot find our way back alone. If you are there now, hear the faint but unwavering call of the shepherd. Hear him leaving the 99 to come to you. Hear his footsteps crunching on gravel, his voice calling your name. Perhaps you have never left the fold. Perhaps you are among the 99, faithful and steady. Even so, what is your reaction when another wanders and is brought home? Do you grumble? Do you feel overlooked? The parable invites you to rejoice, to recognize that love is not diminished by being lavished on another. It invites you to see that the shepherd's heart is large enough to hold all of us. It calls you to join in the search, to leave comfort, to help those who have strayed. It reminds you that there may come a time when you too will need someone to seek you out. Maybe you are the shepherd in this season. You carry heavy burdens. Children who have gone astray, friends in trouble, loved ones drowning in addiction or despair. You walk through thorn bushes and down ravines of late-night conversations and early morning prayers. You scratch your arms and bruise your knees and wonder if your search will ever end. The parable reminds you that your labor is not in vain. It reminds you that the joy of finding even one is worth the pain. It reminds you that you are reflecting the heart of God, and that in your searching, you are never alone. The lost sheep also represents the part of ourselves that we ignore or reject. The wounded, broken, hidden parts that we leave behind when we present our best faces to the world. God seeks those parts too. He wants to carry them home and integrate them into the whole flock of your being. He rejoices when you acknowledge your wounds, when you allow him to heal them. As you drift towards sleep, consider what it means that there is rejoicing in heaven over one sinner who repents. Imagine angels singing over your return. Imagine God himself smiling. Let that image wash over you, soothing anxieties, quieting shame. Let the knowledge that you are sought and loved sink into your bones. Let it guide your breath, slow, steady, restful. And as you wake tomorrow, let the story shape your day. Look for those who are lost, not to judge, but to invite. Look for your own tendencies to wander and choose to stay close to love. When you see grace given to another, celebrate it. When you hear a story of redemption, let it inspire your own hope. When you feel distant, call out, you will be heard. And remember, always, that the shepherd's heart beats with compassion beyond measure. He leaves the 99 for you. He carries you when you cannot walk. He rejoices over you with singing. You are never too far, never too small, never too late to be found. If this story brought peace to your heart tonight, you can continue your rest with another peaceful biblical story from our playlist. Subscribe and return whenever your soul needs stillness. Together, we can make this place grow into a quiet sanctuary for many restless hearts.